Personality NLP case study for Manish, Ascendant and fourth house. Since Manish has Purva Bhadrapada rising in Aquarius as his ascendant, he likely moves through the world with a deep, visionary intensity wrapped in an unconventional, forward-thinking exterior. Purva Bhadrapada, ruled by Jupiter and symbolized by a dual-faced man or the front legs of a funeral cot, is a nakshatra associated with transformation, paradox, and high-minded idealism. Aquarius as a rising sign already brings originality, detachment, and a future-focused lens. But with Purva Bhadrapada here, Manish's identity is shaped by themes of internal fire, philosophical purpose, and a quietly radical mind. He likely presents as composed, intellectually refined, and hard to fully decode. People may sense both his distance and depth. He doesn't reveal easily, but when he does, it's often with insight that cuts straight to the truth. From an NLP lens, this ascendant reflects a dissociated and auditory digital processing style with a leaning toward general chunking. Manish likely processes experience through large-scale themes and abstract models. He tracks patterns, pulls systems apart, and filters for deeper meaning rather than surface reaction. His attention filter is deeply self-oriented, though not in an egoic sense. He processes the world through his internal ideals and alignment. He likely filters interactions through a combination of moral logic and intuitive knowing. His motivation direction leans away from conformity, superficial engagement, or emotionally chaotic environments, and towards clarity, progress, and the pursuit of subtle personal truth. In the fourth house, Manish has Rahu placed in Kritika and Taurus, a placement that brings intensity, focus, and a fiercely independent energy to his emotional foundations, sense of home, and relationship with comfort and nurture. The fourth house governs emotional security, the maternal imprint, early life environment, and the private self. And Rahu here suggests that Manish is driven to define home and emotional safety in his own unconventional terms. Kritika, ruled by the sun and symbolized by a sharp blade, is a nakshatra of refinement, purification, and piercing clarity. In Taurus, this energy becomes grounded and sensual, but still sharp. Rahu here drives a craving for beauty, stability, and emotional control, yet always with a restless edge. Manish may find comfort in structure, order, and aesthetics, but is also likely to challenge traditional or inherited emotional frameworks. From an NLP perspective, this Rahu supports a kinesthetic and visual processing style with specific chunking. He likely tracks subtle shifts in energy, environment, and body language, especially in close or domestic spaces. His attention filter in this house is self-referencing, tuned to his own emotional standards and sensory comfort. He's likely very aware of when something feels off in his environment and may have a private relationship to both creativity and control in his inner life. His motivation direction is primarily away from emotional disorder, stagnation, or dependency, and towards grounded beauty, emotional resilience, and personal refinement. Altogether, Purva Bhadrapada rising and Rahu and Kritika in the fourth house give Manish a psychological profile that is emotionally sovereign, intellectually piercing, and privately intense. His NLP imprint here reflects someone who filters life through abstract frameworks and embodied sensing, who seeks not comfort in convention, but clarity through personal alignment and visionary inner order. Seventh house, Moon in Purva Bhadrapada. In the seventh house, Manish has the moon placed in Purva Bhadrapada in Leo, a placement that brings emotional warmth, regal presence, and a deep desire for connection that feels expressive, honoring, and creatively alive. The seventh house governs one-on-one relationships, partnership dynamics, and how we project and receive emotional resonance in close bonds. With the moon here, Manish likely seeks partnerships that allow him to both feel deeply and be seen fully, not just emotionally, but soulfully. Purva Bhadrapada, ruled by Venus and symbolized by the front legs of a bed or a hammock, is associated with relaxation, union, beauty, and the pleasure of being. In Leo, this nakshatra gains a strong self-expression and dignified emotional tone. Manish's emotional responses are likely generous, creative, and heartfelt, though not always immediately vulnerable. He may present warmth and charm easily in partnership, but the deeper layers of his emotion emerge slowly after mutual loyalty and respect are established. From an NLP perspective, This moon reflects a kinesthetic and visual processing style with specific chunking. Manish likely tracks emotional resonance through physicality, tone, and visual cues. He picks up on subtle feedback in posture, facial expression, and atmosphere. He processes relationships by how they feel in the body, how they look energetically, and whether the interaction supports mutual radiance. He doesn't just want connection, he wants creative harmony. His attention filter in relationship is self-oriented, but relationally generous. He senses quickly when emotional tone feels off, and may withdraw when the relational field lacks dignity, beauty, or balanced admiration. His motivation direction in the 7th house is away from emotional coldness, neglect, or imbalance, and strongly towards partnerships that reflect joy, mutual celebration, and a sense of shared sovereignty. He likely thrives in relationships that allow him to feel emotionally recognized, emotionally safe, and creatively supported. Altogether, the moon in Purva Phalguni in the 7th house gives Manish a relational style that is emotionally generous, aesthetically sensitive, and quietly discerning. His NLP imprint here reflects someone who processes connection through felt sense and visual elegance, who seeks relationship not just as emotional support, but as a canvas for mutual radiance. He doesn't engage lightly. When he chooses to bond, it's with devotion, depth, and a longing to share beauty, truth, and emotional royalty. 9th house, Saturn in Vishaka, Libra. In the 9th house, Manish has Saturn placed in Vishaka in Libra, a placement that shapes his beliefs, worldview, and pursuit of higher truth with structured inquiry, disciplined thought, and a karmic drive to clarify what is just, real, and worth committing to. The 9th house governs philosophy, long-term vision, spiritual or ethical principles, and the way we seek meaning beyond the personal. With Saturn here, Manish doesn't adopt beliefs easily. He builds them slowly through lived experience, thoughtful observation, and deep personal integration. Vishaka, ruled by Jupiter and symbolized by a triumphal arch, is a nakshatra of focused striving, moral clarity, and goal-directed evolution. In Libra, this becomes relational, principle-based, and internally balanced. Saturn in Vishaka brings a kind of ethical gravity to Manish's philosophical lens. He's not interested in spiritual platitudes or abstract idealism unless it works. His beliefs must be lived, tested, and structurally sound. He may be drawn to justice, diplomacy, or refined philosophical systems, but only those that hold up under pressure. From an NLP perspective, this Saturn reflects a dissociated and auditory digital processing style with general chunking. Manish likely engages in pattern-based thinking, tracking long arcs of meaning across time. He processes ideas through structure, coherence, and internal logic. He may not speak often in philosophical conversations, but when he does, it's distilled, direct, and rooted in deep internal filtration. His style of learning is slow, grounded, and integration-focused rather than rapid or performative. His attention filter in this house is primarily self-referencing, but with a moral and social dimension. He tests teachings against his inner compass and outer harmony. If it isn't energetically clean and ethically sound, he quietly steps back. His motivation direction here is away from moral inconsistency, performative ideology, or intellectual vagueness, and strongly towards clarity, truth, and lived wisdom. He's not here to adopt belief, he's here to become it. Altogether, Saturn in Vishaka in the 9th house gives Manish a philosophical and ethical structure that is slow-burning, stable, and built from discernment. His NLP imprint here reflects someone who learns not to collect knowledge, but to refine identity. Someone who seeks truth through pattern, commitment, and real-world alignment. He doesn't chase light, he builds the path, one clear, clean step at a time. 10th house, Sun and Mercury in Jyestha, Ketu in Anuradha. In the 10th house, Manish has Sun and Mercury placed in Jyestha and Ketu in Anuradha, all in Scorpio, a profound and quietly potent configuration that shapes his public identity, professional direction, and relationship to power with intensity, discernment, and karmic intelligence. The 10th house governs career, leadership, and visibility, and Scorpio, already associated with control, privacy, and transformation, gives Manish an aura of quiet authority and energetic precision in his public role. He's not loud, but his presence carries weight. The Sun in Jyestha ruled by Mercury and symbolized by a talisman or elder's staff, gives him a mature, focused approach to leadership. Jyestha confers seniority, not in age, but in perception, depth, and insight. Manish likely holds a strong sense of what's true, what works, and what must be handled quietly but powerfully in professional settings. This sun doesn't seek the spotlight, it seeks strategic influence. He may come across as composed, piercing, or even mysterious in leadership roles, commanding respect through substance rather than visibility. Mercury in Jyestha enhances this, giving him precise, strategic communication and an uncanny ability to read between the lines. He likely speaks sparingly but with impact, choosing his words carefully and watching tone, timing, and context with finesse. From an NLP perspective, the Sun-Mercury pairing in Jyestha supports a dissociated and auditory digital processing style with specific chunking. He mentally maps language, tone, and power dynamics with sharp internal analysis. He processes leadership not through charisma, but through calibrated presence and strategic silence. Ketu in Anuradha, also in the 10th, adds depth and detachment. Anuradha, ruled by Saturn and symbolized by the lotus, governs devotion, structure, and emotional resilience. Ketu here gives Manish past life mastery around emotional discipline and leadership through service. He may feel an inner pull away from ego-driven ambition and toward meaningful contribution, leading with emotional intelligence, loyalty, and a deep sense of internal responsibility. Professionally, he may work best behind the scenes, in transformational spaces, or in systems that require psychological insight. From an NLP lens, Ketu in Anuradha reflects a dissociated and kinesthetic processing style. He's highly aware of emotional tone, unspoken cues, and subtle shifts in power dynamics. He processes through energetic intuition and internal alignment rather than direct feedback or external validation. His attention filter in the 10th house is self-oriented, focused on whether his role, impact, and authority align with his inner compass. His motivation direction is strongly away from superficial recognition, emotional volatility, or toxic power structures, and towards depth, mastery, and subtle yet lasting impact. He doesn't need to be seen, he needs to be effective. Altogether, the Sun and Mercury in Jyestha and Ketu in Anuradha in the 10th house give Manish a leadership style that is emotionally composed, intellectually strategic, and karmically refined. His NLP imprint here reveals someone who leads with subtle influence, filters public presence through deep personal integrity, and seeks to transform systems not through dominance, but through disciplined clarity and energetic truth. 9th house, Jupiter in Purva Bhadrapada, Sagittarius. In the 9th house, Manish has Jupiter placed in Purva Bhadrapada in Sagittarius, a placement that radiates philosophical confidence, expansive ideals, and a natural affinity for teaching, truth-seeking, and moral leadership. The 9th house governs belief systems, higher learning, spiritual philosophy, and long-term vision. With Jupiter, the natural ruler of this house, dignified in its own sign and nakshatra, Manish's worldview is not only foundational to his identity, it's sacred. He's wired to pursue understanding that liberates, elevates, and endures. Purva Bhadrapada, ruled by Venus and symbolized by the invincible warrior and the winnowing basket, brings refinement, purification, and a drive toward philosophical victory. This nakshatra is fiercely committed to ideals. It doesn't just want to believe, it wants to triumph through belief. In Sagittarius, this energy becomes unapologetically visionary. Manish likely holds strong personal truths, developed through both formal learning and life experience, and seeks to embody them with integrity and grace. His belief systems may evolve, but they are always tested against lived wisdom and moral clarity. From an NLP perspective, this Jupiter reflects a general chunking style with strong auditory, digital, and kinesthetic leanings. He likely synthesizes information from large, abstract principles and filters it through both internal logic and deep feeling. He learns best when concepts resonate emotionally and ethically. He doesn't adopt ideas without inner alignment. His processing style is holistic. He listens for meaning, feels for coherence, and holds beliefs that move both heart and mind. His attention filter is primarily self-referencing, especially in philosophical, spiritual, or ethical domains. He doesn't outsource his truth. He builds it internally, testing each new idea against an evolving inner compass. His motivation direction here is clearly toward elevation, coherence, truth, and moral victory. But there's also a subtle away from. He distances himself from shallow ideologies, dogma, or belief systems that lack depth or emotional intelligence. Jupiter in Purva Bhadrapada also gives Manish a quiet charisma when sharing ideas. He may not speak often in group settings, but when he does, people listen. His presence in teaching or philosophical conversation is calm, persuasive, and anchored. He speaks with authority, not because he demands it, but because he embodies what he teaches. Altogether, Jupiter in Purva Bhadrapada in the 9th house gives Manish a philosophical core that is expansive, dignified, and quietly fierce. His NLP imprint here reflects someone who learns through synthesis, teaches through lived truth, and filters wisdom through both insight and embodiment. He's not here to preach. He's here to live the principle and let that living become the teaching. 12th house, Mars in Dhanishta and Venus in Shravana, Capricorn. In the 12th house, Manish has Mars in Dhanishta and Venus in Shravana, both in Capricorn. A highly disciplined, inwardly attuned combination that brings emotional restraint, focused solitude, and strategic sensuality to his unconscious world, spiritual processing, and private instincts. The 12th house governs what lies beneath conscious awareness, including dream life, retreat, karmic residue, spiritual practice, and the ability to dissolve ego in favor of deeper connection. With both Mars and Venus here, Manish's inner world is alive with quiet movement, yet outwardly contained. He doesn't share his inner workings easily, but behind closed doors, there's a rich, intentional rhythm to how he processes intimacy, desire, and spiritual focus. Mars in Dhanishta, ruled by Mars and symbolized by the drum, brings rhythmic drive, endurance, and a deep affinity for timing and structured action. In Capricorn, where Mars is exalted, this energy becomes powerfully focused. Manish likely possesses a private engine, an ability to channel force, motivation, and clarity into long-term spiritual or psychological goals. In the 12th, Mars here suggests a strong capacity for inner work, possibly through physical discipline, like martial arts, dance, or breath work, or intense dream and shadow processing. From an NLP perspective, this reflects a kinesthetic and auditory processing style with specific chunking. He processes through sensation, structure, and movement-based memory, refining energy through repetition and ritual. Venus in Shravana, ruled by the moon and symbolized by the ear, brings refinement, listening, and devotional intelligence to the sensual emotional layer of his private world. Shravana is about receiving stories, wisdom, sound, and in Capricorn, Venus here becomes discerning, loyal, and emotionally contained. Manish may find great beauty in silence, ritual, or sacred solitude. His aesthetic and emotional needs are processed inwardly. He doesn't express vulnerability impulsively. Rather, he listens deeply to himself and others and seeks emotional environments that are calm, ordered, and quietly meaningful. From an NLP lens, this Venus supports an auditory, digital, and visual style, with deep internal scripting, sound-based memory, and a sensitivity to tone, music, or symbolic imagery. His attention filter in the 12th is deeply self-referencing, especially when it comes to energy management, intimacy, and retreat. He filters his inner experiences through internal rhythms and instinctive discernment. His motivation direction is strongly away from emotional chaos, overstimulation, or porous energetic boundaries, and equally towards order, quiet refinement, and private sacredness. He likely seeks out practices and environments that support emotional clarity and energetic alignment, whether through structured solitude, sound-based healing, or private aesthetic rituals. Together, Mars in Dhanishta and Venus in Shravana in the 12th house give Manish an inner world that is strong, refined, and strategically private. His NLP imprint here reflects someone who filters life through felt rhythm, emotional restraint, and symbolic listening, who acts not from reaction, but from inner architecture. He's not here to dissolve aimlessly. He's here to sculpt his soul in silence and let that private refinement power everything he builds outwardly. Overall, NLP drives for Manish. Manish's NLP profile reveals a mind and emotional system that is precise, discerning, deeply internal, and rhythmically strategic. With planetary placements across nakshatras like Purva Bhadrapada, Kritika, Purva Falguni, Vishaka, Jyestha, Anuradha, Purva Ashada, Dhanishta, and Shravana in signs like Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, and Capricorn. His psychological architecture is built for intuitive intelligence, internal coherence, and structured refinement. He moves through life not with overt intensity, but with inner calibration, tracking energy, language, and emotional depth with focused detachment and a powerful instinct for alignment. His dominant processing styles are auditory digital, kinesthetic, and visual. The auditory digital channel is central, seen in his Jyestha Sun and Mercury, Vishaka Saturn, and Shravana Venus, enabling him to filter experience through logic, internal dialogue, and symbolic language. He tests everything against a core system of internal reasoning. Does it make sense? Is it consistent with what he knows to be true? At the same time, his kinesthetic processing is finely tuned. Mars in Dhanishta and Moon in Purva Phalguni suggest that he reads the world through sensation, tone, and embodied cues. He knows when something feels off before it can be articulated. The visual channel emerges especially in how he observes aesthetic structure, symbolic imagery, or energetic layout in both relational and professional domains. His chunking style shifts based on domain. Specific chunking shows up in emotional, relational, and communication-based environments, Moon, Mercury, Ketu, while general chunking governs his philosophical, spiritual, and leadership domains, Saturn in Vishaka, Jupiter in Purva Ashada. He zooms in when analyzing power, tone, or emotional shifts, but zooms out when refining belief systems, inner vision, or long-term ethical clarity. Manish's motivation direction is primarily away from, particularly when encountering chaos, moral dissonance, emotional disorder, or relational superficiality. He instinctively creates distance from what is manipulative, inconsistent, or wasteful of energy. This doesn't make him reactive, it makes him clear. Yet when something or someone aligns with his deeper principles, when clarity, dignity, and depth are present, he moves towards with full commitment and focus. His attention filter is highly self-referencing, particularly in emotional, professional, and spiritual domains. He is not easily influenced by trends or social momentum. He calibrates everything against his own internal compass. This self-reference is not egoic, but structural. It's the foundation from which he tests coherence, truth, and emotional safety. His ability to engage deeply while remaining internally sovereign is one of his greatest assets. His action style is deliberate and timing-based. With Mars in Dhanishta and Sun in Jyestha, he doesn't act impulsively. He waits for energetic and emotional alignment, then moves with quiet force. His strategic presence means he can be underestimated, but once committed, he brings precision, endurance, and transformational depth to everything he touches. Altogether, Manish's NLP imprint reflects a person who filters the world through systems, feels through structure, and leads through silent calibration. He processes experience through a blend of intellectual clarity, embodied awareness, and symbolic logic. He's not here to follow noise. He's here to listen beneath it, move with intention, and build a life that reflects not just intelligence, but integrity.